Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets from now until Super Bowl 57 on February 12th, 2023 from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1,199 versus a regular price of $1,999 for one total savings of $800. This limited time super discount comes out to less than $100 per month and only $3.28 per day. As an added bonus, your all access starts immediately, so the sooner you buy before Super Bowl 56, the more additional days you will get for free. Just go to WagerTalk.com, choose your favorite handicapper to lock in, and don't forget there is no limit to the amount of handicappers you can redeem our Super Bowl to Super Bowl offer on.
It is Thursday, February 10th. This is Wager Talk Today on Wager Talk TV, and we are inching ever so close to the big game this Sunday, Super Bowl 56 between the Rams and Bengals. We've got both Thursday and Friday to dig in even further. Super Bowl talk throughout the show today with our guests. I'm, of course, Steve Merrill, filled in for the Prez, who remains on assignment trying to try out for the Olympic skiing team as we speak. But, of course, Teddy Covers is with me, as always, as my co-host for Wager Talk Today, live noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, every weekday right here on Wager Talk TV. And don't forget, we're archived 24/7 here on this channel as well. And don't forget to check out the podcast. When you're on the go, you can listen to our sweet voices, give you some free winners and advice as well. Speaking of winners and advice, as I said, Teddy, we're going to cover the Super Bowl with all of our guests as we've been doing every week, every day this week. We're also going to look at some basketball, some hockey, some UFC. We've got Tony Mejia looking at college and pro hoops. Andrew Mcinnis, also WagerTalk.com, is going to look at some NHL and UFC also. And then, of course, Super Bowl props and advice from both of them as well. And then to finish it off, we've got some stats from the human database himself. Ralph Michaels sent us over the Wager Talk guide, some Super Bowl stats and advice, and you and I are going to break that down at the end of the show. So lots of Super Bowl talk, but before we get to that, I need to know, Teddy Covers, did you learn anything last night on Wednesday?
Two things last night that were learned by this better. First, we have to continue to talk about what's going on with NBA favorites. 4-2 again last night, 9-1 the night before, 3-1-1 on Monday, 7-1 on Sunday, 6-0 on Saturday. That's 29-5-1 against the spread. Favorites in the NBA since last Saturday, 85%. And two of those five dogs that covered, both 1-point dogs. One of them was the best team in the NBA in Phoenix. It has not been a good time for dog bettors in the NBA. And again, that continued last night, although there were a pair of outright upsets with Portland's win and Sacramento's straight up win. So maybe that's the sign that this incredible run of NBA favorites isn't going to go on forever. But the other thing I learned yesterday was I got to go have fun over at the Fox 5 studios here in Las Vegas. We're shooting a show called Beat the Odds for Super Bowl weekend. I get to hang out with Brandon Marshall. Big, here we got one camera. There we got 15 cameras, more than that even. The lights, the backdrops, the hot graphics. But you know what? I've done a ton of TV spots over the years. I've done, CBS and PBS and NBC and MSNBC and on down the line. You know what I like doing better? I like doing this show better. You know why I like doing this show better? Because, number one, I get to do it from home. And number two, I got a jacket on. I look decent when I go on air. But underneath, I'm always wearing shorts or sweats. And when I go out and shoot in studio, you got to dress up top to bottom. So I love doing this show from home for that specific reason, even though it is fun to get out and about and do some national TV stuff. What about you, Steve? What did you learn last night?
Yeah, well, I learned, like you said, NBA favorites remain hot. I actually had a best bet on the Portland Trailblazers, one of those outright underdog winners. So I was able to kind of pick and choose, right? But playing with fire because the other favorites went 4-1, as you said. It was 25-3 against the spread Saturday through Tuesday. It was 4-2 last night. So that's now 29 and 5 ATS, I believe, the last 5 days and nights. Look, we talked about it yesterday on the show. I'm sure most people were watching. If not, go back, check the replay here on Wager Talk TV. But, there's a couple reasons. We have the trade deadline today, actually, on the 10th. We also have the All-Star break next week. Big favorites are kind of routing. There have been some high-scoring games, but I'm still not going to read too much into it. Like I said, I had a dog last night. It cashed for us outright. So, don't just blindly play the favorites. I joked I wasn't going to be here today because I was retiring, playing all the favorites, and I actually used a dog last night, Teddy. get a head fake to everybody that was watching. But congrats on the TV stuff, and I thoroughly agree with you. Keep in mind, casual Friday is when you don't have to wear pants, so you got one more day to go on that one when we work at home like this. I'm wearing sweats and shorts today. Actually, it's a little chilly still here on the East Coast, but let us know. We're going to see that anytime soon. Is it in a limited markets? Are people going to be able to check it out?
Yeah, the show's called Beat the Odds, and it's playing at affiliates all over the country this weekend. So
Cool.
we got to go shoot again today. Yesterday was the production meetings where we run through everything and, oh, here's the camera angle. No, stand over here. Here's your spot, yada, yada. Today, we actually film. So I got to go and shoot from a good portion of the day today. We're scheduled from I think 11 to 4, and I got to be there early. So hair and makeup, the whole 9 yards, dude. It's a proper TV studio. So good times.
Well, yeah, and hair and makeup takes longer for some than others. I'll just leave it at that. But no, that's awesome. It's cool that it's going to be on this weekend. And be sure to tweet that out to us, Teddy, when you have the exact details. And of course, a lot of people will see that, almost 50,000 to be exact, because Teddy Covers is turning 50 on Twitter very soon. And don't forget that special promo code TC50. TC50 gets you 7 days and nights, all sports from Teddy for just $50. That's basically half price. What a great time to do it right now, right? We got college and pro hoops every day. We got the Super Bowl as well. So TC50 gets you 7 days, all sports. Teddy Covers for half price at WagerTalk.com. And with no further ado, since Teddy is on a tight schedule. What's that?
Oh, I'd say for what it's worth, I did put up a 15-play prop package for the Super Bowl last night. So we're locked and loaded with the props, and a lot of positive expectation wagers in that group, I believe.
Wow, 15. That alone is worth the 50 right there, my friends and family. I mean, that's TC50. You're getting some value this week, so do not delay. Hey, look, if you don't want the Super Bowl, buy it Sunday night, right, and get next week. But if you want the Super Bowl, use it soon. TC50, Teddy Covers, WagerTalk.com. And Teddy, since we got to get you to hair and makeup, let's bring in our first guest, Tony Mejia, a man that never needs hair or makeup, from the warm state of sunny Florida. Orlando Magic season ticket holder. Teddy, we talk about there's not a lot of joking without Prez here, but I think Tony will agree. I had one of my best lines on NBA Tip-Off a few weeks ago. I said that I was going to the William & Mary game. Tony was going to the Magic game, and I said that Tony had left 2 Orlando Magic season tickets on the front seat of his car, and someone smashed the window and left 2 more. Broke in, smashed the window, and left 2 more. And Tony, I don't know if
I got to say, Steve, number one, it's a great joke. But number two, I updated as I do every night, updated my NBA power ratings last night, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh my God, I have 8 teams power rated lower than the Orlando Magic right now.
There you go.
Orlando just 21st. And they've been, 28, 29, 30 all year long. So what we've seen, and maybe part of the reason why the favorites have been so dominant this past week, is we're really seeing the separation between the decent teams, and the bottom feeders have all bottomed out over the course of the last week, and we're seeing it on a night in, night out basis. And Orlando isn't one of those teams, coming off a nice win in Portland. Tony, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm all about you looking prettier, Teddy. You've already got the great hair, but makeup, I'm sure, will do you good. And Steve, there's now like a dozen tickets there, and they're piling up for the rest of the season. And there'll probably be more, because I believe that the Magic will be busy between now and the trade deadline. I know Mo Bamba is on the block. Certainly, if a contender wants a perimeter defender like Gary Harris, or a lights-out three-point shooter who can get to the rim, and Terrence Ross, those guys are available as well. And we just saw a big 14 deal within the last hour with some teams that actually matter. The Bucks getting stronger, getting Serge Ibaka. The Clippers making a move in that deal. Kings and Pistons also involved. Detroit, potentially buying low on Marvin Bagley Jr. So I like that move for them. A lot of refreshing of Twitter, a lot of looking ahead to the Super Bowl. Tons to do, as you guys know.
Well, Tony, I'll say let's stick in the NBA. We're going to look at the college hoops game with you, but let's stick in the NBA right now. Any game jump out at you tonight? As you said, the Clippers were just involved. They have a big game against the Mavericks. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I've got a 5% play in the NBA in Suns Bucks, the finals rematch. So look for that. But as far as a game we'll give out today, free on the show, I like the Clippers getting the points in Dallas. It's 6.5 now. You can still get some 7s. Dallas has really been playing well of late too. They've won 3 straight, locked in on a defense. They have even without Kristaps Porzingis, they haven't allowed 100 points since losing to the Thunder. So that apparently got the attention of Jason Kidd and his people. But I think the Clippers are going to be a handful tonight. No Porzingis still. And the Mavs now have to deal with a rejuvenated LA squad in the fact that they like what they've seen out of Terrence Mann as the backup point guard to Reggie Jackson. They added Norman Powell, a UCLA guy from San Diego that's going to want to be there. Robert Covington to come off the bench and supply some defense in the front court. I kind of like what I see there. So I think that they will give Luka Doncic and friends a run, and I will take the points with the Clippers despite all the favorites covering of late.
Well, let me ask you this. I've stepped in front of Dallas a couple times last week and got my teeth kicked in, which wasn't a whole lot of fun. So maybe I'm a little bit nervous stepping in front of the Mavs. But when you really look at the Clips over the last, they had a nice little run where they kept on coming back, from huge deficits and making games interesting late. But over the course of the last couple of weeks, the only teams they're beating are lottery teams. They had the 1-point win against the Lakers. They had the win
lottery
against
teams and the
Washington.
Lakers.
Which the Lakers with the loss to Portland last night may well be a lottery team. Do you worry at all about the Clips' ability to step up at least modestly in class against a team like Dallas?
No, I mean, we always worry, and especially given the climate of late where good teams are doing what they're supposed to do. And I would put Dallas in that category, certainly. Since losing to Oklahoma City, like I said, they've kind of locked in on the defensive end. And that I think is where they were most vulnerable without Porzingis, because when healthy, he's a solid rim protector and he's so large out there. But they've been able to do it without him. Look, the Clippers have not been good, but they faced really tough teams. They just lost at Memphis and gave up 135 points there, gave up 137 at home to Giannis and the Bucks. There's trepidation, but at the same time, you're getting over 3 possessions, you're getting 6.5, 7 points. I think that the one thing that the Clippers do bring to the table is a lot of bodies to throw at Luka Doncic. You can, put Covington in off the bench on him. Amir Coffey, who's fairly long. Obviously, Nick Batum. Powell will probably get a little bit of a nod. So they can throw some bodies at him. And you need turnovers. You need to disrupt what Doncic and Jalen Brunson have been able to do in taking care of the basketball and getting other guys involved. I think we'll see a game, though. And so from that standpoint, getting 7 points should be beneficial down the stretch. I think the Mavericks win, but the Clippers cover.
That's Tony Mejia, WagerTalk.com, and he likes the Clippers. Currently plus 6.5 in most spots. A few 7s, as he said, are still out there, but it does look like that line's dropped a little bit. And a lot of lines are going to move around as the trade deadline, of course, is today on Thursday in the NBA. For more information on the NBA, by the way, 4:15 Eastern, must-watch TV today with that trade deadline NBA tip-off with Joe Ranieri and company. Before that, though, don't forget College Basketball Show is on at 1:45 Eastern, about an hour and a half from now, and both myself and Tony Mejia will be on the College Tip-Off Show today. And, Tony, we're talking 3 big games this evening on that show. One of them is going to be the Michigan-Purdue game in the Big Ten, but we're going to look at a different Big Ten game with you right now, and that's Maryland and Iowa. The Terps, a home dog against a very good offensive Iowa team, not as strong defensively. How do you play this one on the road right now? I was about a 4-point favorite. We haven't seen much movement. We have seen some money coming on the under. It's gone from 149 down to the 146.5 range.
Yeah, not as strong defensively, Iowa, except for this past game against Minnesota. And it was actually stunning to me because I was on the Gopher side, enjoying a halftime lead and kicking my feet up to hopefully watch the second half. And here comes Iowa playing defense. And I don't know what the deal was because Fran McCaffrey missed the game due to COVID. He'll be back tonight. But they made a little bit of a change. They're going with Jordan Bohannon at the point and played Aaron Eulis the minutes that you typically see go to their smaller guard that's not seeing the floor right now. And they held Jamison Battle, one of Minnesota's top scorers, to 1 of 12 from the field and 0 of 6 from 3. And Joe Toussaint played 6 minutes. And I think that they're going to go to that going forward. And in a situation tonight where they go into College Park, Maryland is actually 3-0 going into this game in revenge games. And Maryland lost 80-75 in Iowa City in a game that they led at the break. This is a spot for the Terps where they can really make some inroads at home. Obviously, I don't think too much of Danny Manning as a coach. He's kind of in a tough spot in that interim role, but he's got players. He's got Thats Russell, the roadie transfer, Eric Ayala. He's got guard play, Hakeem Hart, Qudus Wahad, a 7-footer, who I think Iowa's going to be hard pressed to stop in the paint. Hopefully he stays out of foul trouble. And the Maryland's best player is Dante Scott. All 5 Maryland starters in that game at Iowa scored in double figures, but they couldn't stop Keegan Murray. He went 5 of 6 from 3, 14 of 21 from the field, finished with 35 points. I don't anticipate Murray having that kind of success at Maryland. I think the Terps are a solid bet to sprinkle some money line action on, because I think they might win straight up.
So, in terms of a home court edge, Maryland this year doesn't have one of the greater ones. We saw them lose at home to Sparty. We saw them lose at home to Indiana in their last 2 tries. And then before that, they knocked off Illinois as dogs. It feels like Maryland, for as much as any team in the Big Ten, Maryland's capable of beating anybody and getting knocked off by anybody. Again, I keep asking you, does that concern you? I know it concerns you, but talk about that for just a minute, Tony.
Sure. I mean, I think my solace in that is that Iowa hasn't been good on the road whatsoever. They give up 10.5 more points per 100 possessions on the road than they do at home, and they've struggled. They just lost their last roadie at Penn State in double overtime. They've lost at Rutgers, and no shame in that, because the Scarlet Knights are tough at the rack. But their only win over their last 6 road games was against Minnesota, which they won by double digits. They've fallen at Wisconsin. They fell at Iowa State by 20. They've fallen at Purdue. So I think they're going to be hard pressed just to get out of College Park with a victory. And so if you're going to give me 4 points, I'll take those. And like I said, I think Maryland pulls the upset outright.
Tony Mejia liking some dogs in college and pro hoops here on the show today. Clippers and Terps both getting plus points. And once again, Tony will be on with me in about an hour and a half on the college basketball show right here on WagerTalk TV at 1:45 Eastern, archive 24/7 here on this channel. We'll be looking at Michigan, Purdue, Washington State, Arizona, Oregon, Stanford, some Pac-12 action there on the college show. But Tony, before we get you out of here, got to talk some Super Bowl. Give me a Joe Burrow prop that you're looking at for Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, everybody obviously is all about Joe Burrow and his arm and his accuracy, doing damage to try to pull off the improbable Super Bowl upset and get the Bengals a Super Bowl win. But I'm looking for his legs to have to do some of the dirty work, because, I don't think that the Bengals offensive line is going to be able to consistently stop Aaron Donald, which means he's going to have to buy time. He's going to have to get outside the pocket. And ultimately, I think he's going to run for more than, and this is key, 10.5 yards, because that's available at FanDuel. 11.5 is out there for at DraftKings and MGM books, and you should always shop the best line, especially with these props, because 1 yard would make a huge difference. Look, Joe Burrow was, very cautious early on coming off the MCL this season, but over the last 6 games, he's actually topped 10 yards in 4 of them. His longest run ever came in the first game of his pro career. He broke off a 23-yard run. Hasn't rushed for more than 40 yards in a game since. I don't think he'll rush for that, but I think he gets 15, 20 yards just out of necessity. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and I think innovation goes right there with that. And I can see Joe Burrow in a manner similar to what Patrick Mahomes did this postseason, calling his own number to bust that prop. So 10.5 yards, it seems short. There's also Burrow outrushing Matthew Stafford. The juice on that is super high at minus 370, but I don't see Stafford moving much. I think that's free money if you put just a little bit on it, and obviously you're cognizant of the juice involved in that. But 10.5 yards, I think Burrow does that at straight up minus 110.
Yeah, and Tony, something we've talked about on the show a lot this week, Teddy's brought up, is, there is actually value with those big minus props in the Super Bowl. It's the one time a year when the public plays plus money more and it shies away, and it may be minus 370. Hey, if it's supposed to be minus 600, minus 700, sure, it's still a good bet, right? As long as you manage your money correctly. Don't you agree, Teddy? For what it's worth, as I was putting my prop report, I talked to basically every sharp bettor I know in Vegas yesterday at one point or another over the course of the day. And every one of them is like, yeah, my average lay price is minus 280 on my props. My average lay price is minus 240 on my props. The sharp bettors are very comfortable laying minus 370 in a prop that should be priced at minus $7. Right. Yeah, it's a very interesting aspect to the Super Bowl. And by the way, the line is dropping, folks. A lot of 4s out there now. I even see Caesars down to 3.5 as of last night. Yet some of the Vegas books, Westgate and Circa, 4.5 still. Of course, the LA money will come into Vegas, not into the other states. So We'll see how that plays out. We're going to have more Super Bowl talk here in the show. Tony, before we get you out of here, I know you have a 5% NBA play. You've also got a 5% Super Bowl play and props package on a mere 41-16-1 sides run, the last 58 plays in all sports. Tony, what else you got going to WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to keep up with the demand of what the schedule is this week. So busy. Got to do some writing and then meet you on that show at bottom of the next hour. But bottom line, 5% play in the NBA today with the package there. There'll be a package in college hoops and that Super Bowl package, which will include Joe Burrow going over 10.5 rushing yards. So that one's a freebie. I'm going to put it at 3%. I don't think I'll have many 3% props. I fully expect that one to come in. So that one's a freebie for our audience. And, join me and a handful of Wager Talk handicappers on these Super Bowl picks, because I see that everybody has great deals going, and knowledge is power. So go in armed.
Yeah, and the great thing about the props, guys, is you can buy several cappers, right? And you're going to get a lot of different props because there's several hundred out there. So you can get more than one cappers prop package and make even more money for Super Bowl Sunday. Once again, Tony will be with me at 1:45 Eastern, the college basketball tip-off show. Teddy, we're talking Purdue, Michigan on that show. But before we do so, I want to get your big game breakdown because I need some talking points to steal for the show in an hour. So 30 seconds, Teddy covers back. Big game breakdown, Big Ten style.
Celebrate what Teddy covers as he hits the 50,000 plateau on Twitter. Right now, you can get a 7-day all-access pass for only $50 using coupon code TC50 when checking out on Teddy's 7-day pass. That's 7 days for less than a 3-day package and $49 savings from regular 7-day all-access price, coming to just $7.14 per day. To redeem this special, go to Teddy's homepage at either WagerTalk or Sports Memo and use coupon code TC50 when checking out for his 7-day all-access pass.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. And let's talk a huge showdown in the Big Ten for the night. The Purdue Boilermakers traveling to Ann Arbor to take on the Michigan Wolverines. We have seen a little bit of Purdue money this morning. We have seen a fair bit of under money this morning as well. Looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, I'm seeing Purdue right now mostly minus 3.5s out there. There are still a couple of threes if you shop around. Total has been bet down to 145, even 144.5 off the opener of 148. Now, these two teams just played. It's one of these scenarios where because of the rescheduled games and because of the canceled games around the season, you have to do these short turnaround situations. And the Wolverines are in short turnaround revenge. They lost 82-76 to Purdue, despite a career high 28 from Hunter Dickinson in that ball game. Who was on fire throughout. In these short turnaround revenge spots, a lot of times, sharp money looks to the dog. Hey, they get an opportunity to get a team, especially back on your home floor as a home dog. You read the quotes from Juwan Howard, saying, we'll go out there and see. I remember how in the NBA, when you're in the playoffs, it's like a chess match for a 5 or a 7-game series. Each team's trying to make adjustments, see what they can do to give themselves an advantage. So we'll see them again, and we'll be ready to compete. I agree Michigan will be ready to compete, and I think they can compete, but I don't think they can win. All right, this is one of the preseason conference favorites. They're 11-9 overall right now, 5-5 in Big Ten play. And when you look at what happened in that first meeting, Purdue dominated the paint. Michigan shot 56% from the floor, 44% from three-point range, 83% from the free throw line, and they didn't win. They lost by 6. I think it's going to be hard for Michigan to match any of those shooting numbers tonight. And oh, by the way, Purdue wasn't hitting from three-point range in that game, just 5 of 18 from beyond the arc. I think the Boilermakers are the better team, and the Boilermakers can control the paint. I don't trust Michigan to shoot as well as they did last time. No surprise we're seeing under money. No one expects Michigan to shoot as well as they did last time out. I'd look for Purdue to get the win in Ann Arbor tonight, and I think they'll do it by margin. Give me the Boilermakers minus the points against the Wolverines in college hoops action for Thursday. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Big game breakdown style, 1,000-1. Gotta love it. I think Purdue is about as good of a shooting team, Teddy, as I've seen in recent years. I talked about them on the college show Tuesday when I was last on. For the season, 41% from three on 24 attempts per game. This many games into the season, that's just incredible. They are the most efficient offense in the country out of 358 teams because of that. So it'll be a tough matchup for Michigan. We're going to talk about that game once again in about an hour here on College Basketball Today with Joe Ranieri, Tony Mejia, and Dave Koken and myself here on WagerTalk TV. But before we talk some more Super Bowl, let's talk a little hockey and UFC first with Andrew Mcinnis from WagerTalk.com. And Andrew, I'll bring you right in, and let's jump right into the late night special in NHL tonight, Flames and Leafs. A lot of Toronto lovers at WagerTalk and the WagerTalk family. The Leafs are looking strong this year, 30-10. Could this be the year? And, we had the All-Star break last week, of course. You always have to be a little cautious out of the break, but both teams came back with wins. Toronto hasn't played for a couple of days, though. Calgary had to play last night. They played Vegas at home 6-0. Haven't seen much movement on the total at 6 to the over. We've seen a little bit of money coming on Toronto, though, from $1.20 to $1.40 road favorite. How are you approaching this one tonight?
Well, Steve, first of all, great to be here. I want to congratulate you on your 2-0 night and congratulate Teddy on the upcoming production. I wanted to say that I am not one of the Leaf lovers. I am so happy to see you guys, or especially Teddy, tell Prez last year when the Leafs blew that 3-1 lead to my Canadians that it was done in Game 7 after that 3-1 lead was blown. So I'm not a Leaf lover, but I'll tell you what I love with the Leafs, guys. Betting overs in certain prime spots. And at 6 here, I'll take it. I believe this should be a 6.5. The Calgary Flames are a really good defensive team. Their coach preaches that system. They kind of play boring style of hockey where they trap the middle of the ice. However, they're only playing their second game since the All-Star break. Last night, they had an outpour of 6 goals, and I actually had the over in that game, but it pushed because Vegas couldn't get me 1 goal. In the last 8 games for Toronto, guys, they haven't scored less than 3 goals. Last 3 games for Calgary, they have absolutely lit it up. We have a backup goaltender in net for Calgary as they're playing second half of back-to-back. I always say that I think back-to-backs are overrated in the NHL when you're betting money lines, but I always take them into account when I'm betting on totals. So I think over 6 is a great play here today as the Leafs start their road trip in Calgary.
So one of the things that I was working on with my NFL prop report yesterday was the huge difference between a half of something. Something's priced 3.5 here and 4 there, and that's can be worth 200 cents a juice for an NFL prop. I mean, it can be literally, an enormous difference between something's priced 3.5 or 4, or these half a field goal or a half a rushing attempt or whatever it is. In hockey, between 6 and 6.5. How much is that worth? Because clearly you're saying you thought this line should be 6.5. I'm seeing 6 minus 20 now. Is that like an auto? If it's supposed to be, say, if you think this total should be 6.5 and it's at 6, that's an auto bet every time. It's worth laying a little bit of juice to do it.
I'd say so, yes, Teddy. I as far as juice goes in hockey, I'm not someone that lays the huge favorites. I'll look towards puck lines, team totals, regulation wagers. But as far as totals, I never have an issue looking at laying some juice. And yeah, if I look at it openly and see, wow, I thought at least a couple books would show me a 6.5. Then it definitely gives me good reason to step in front. But I wouldn't say that it's kind of an auto bet saying I should be 6.5, but it's circumstantial with this one, especially because I think that the Flames are a good defensive team, but this situation does not set up for it to be a good defensive game.
Yeah, and something, Andrew, to keep in mind also, as like in baseball, the even numbers are less likely. Teddy knows as well. 6 is obviously less likely than 5 or 7 because just like in baseball can't end in the tie, right? So 6, 8, 10 are, less likely than 7, 9, etc. But in hockey, you do get the extra time. So 6 a little less likely, but still a lot less scoring, right? So it's still a pretty big difference between 6 and 6.5.
Just real quick,
of
Steve,
stuff to talk about. Yeah.
If I can, we talked about on the show last week, actually, with Prez on Puck Time about the 5.5 versus a 6. And I apologize. Obviously, right. I don't have the numbers in front of me for how often these games land on certain numbers, guys. But I was telling Prez I'm willing to lay the extra premium, minus 125.30 for a 5.5 versus a plus price in the 6. And well, he just said to me, you'd have to find out how many games are exactly landing on that exact number of 6. But it's definitely a very popular landing spot for NHL scores. So at least if I get an over 6, you're getting the push. You get that 5.5, you're getting the win instead. So certain spots, I'll lay some certain juice there.
Yeah, and there's 7 games on the board tonight. 6 of the 7, no pun intended, have totals of 6, and one of them have a 5.5. You know, when I was starting back in the 90s, it was all 5.5s. You even saw some 4.5s before you were born, Andrew McGinnis, back in the 90s. But yeah, hockey a little bit higher scoring sport, as is NBA, NFL. Everything's more offense nowadays, right? Look, we got a huge sporting card this week. I mean, we got a ton of basketball every day. We got hockey. People forget it's UFC 271 this weekend on Saturday, a big UFC card as well. Give us something to look at in one of the 2 co-main events. Give us something here for UFC 271.
Yeah, well, I really like this Derrick Lewis and Tuivasa fight here. It's going to be an interesting one. And guys, I'll start with this. You know, a lot of the times with the female fights, you see a huge favorite and you can automatically get those numbers down. We're talking about creating better prices here and managing your bankroll. You can take that fighter to win by points or via decision. A lot of those fights go to the distance. As far as the heavyweight division goes, you guys know what it's all about. It's a one punch, you catch somebody and it's lights out, they're going to sleep. You don't see a lot of these heavyweight bouts go the distance. So I'm looking at Derrick Lewis, but I'm looking at him inside the distance to get us much better price here, around minus 120, 125 here against Tuivasa. And one of the biggest reasons I like this fight here for Derrick Lewis is experience. Tuivasa has made a name for himself as being an entertaining fighter, a fighter that you'd want to watch if you were sitting back and cracking a beer and watching with your friends. But as a bettor right now, I want the guy that's had 23 UFC fights, several main events, not someone that's mostly just a brawler. You know, Tuivasa puts himself in some really tough situations, and if he gets in too close, Lewis is going to catch him. And he's going to get knocked out, I think. So I like the under 1.5 rounds too, guys, but that's still minus 180. So I can get Derrick Lewis inside the distance. So that's TKO or KO at minus 120.
I don't have a follow-up for you for the UFC, which I probably should. You can feed, Brandon Seif can fit them. Tokyo Brandon feeds them to me. You can do it.
Sorry.
There's a UFC question. But let's talk about the Super Bowl, obviously. I want to get some Super Bowl thoughts as well as NHL and UFC. What do you want to share about the Super Bowl with our viewing audience?
There are 2 kind of unique ones that I was looking at that I wanted to share today on the show. One of them being, I guess it's not too unique. Everyone's talking about him. Evan McPherson, over 7.5 kicking points. I think that people look at this Bengals team, and there's kind of been a question with how often will they, quote for quote, settle? And you heard that against even the Chiefs. You can't beat the Chiefs kicking field goals. You can't beat a team. This guy has been unbelievable. He has clearly proven himself to be consistent. He's a huge factor for this team. And I feel like early on, I don't think they'll hesitate, to go ahead and settle for a field goal, not go for it or anything, take any risks. And all we need is a couple field goals and an extra point, or a couple touchdown extra points and a field goal. So I think over 7.5 kicking points for McPherson, for Evan McPherson, is a good one there. Another one I like, Teddy, was will there be a special teams or a defensive touchdown? I locked that one in at plus 260. And I think whether it's a pick six or a fumble recovery taken to the house, I think we can see that, especially on the Bengals end. You can get plus 500 if you say the Bengals will be the team to do it if Matthew Stafford throws a pick six or something like that.
Yeah, defensive or special teams touchdowns have now scored. We've had a defensive or special teams touchdown in 7 of the last 15 Super Bowls, and it's always priced at higher than plus $2. So when it cashes 7 out of 15, and you're getting 2-1 every time it cashes, that has been a positive expectation wager in recent Super Bowls. Sorry, Steve, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was going to say, to piggyback on that, we talk about the minus money props is how you normally want to go. That's actually a plus money prop over the years I have used several times. And as you said, Teddy, that one has actually cashed for people many times, that plus money. Obviously the big game factor comes into play, and we saw that in the blowouts in the 80s and the 90s. Teams get desperate. Maybe if it's a more competitive game now, it's a little less likely. And the one thing about the Bengals, 5 straight games, no turnovers until the last 2. They've had 1 each. That's why they're in the Super Bowl right now. They're probably not the second best team in the NFL, but they've been taking care of the ball. Will that happen? Big game. Joe Burrow was there a couple years ago with LSU. Stafford, Bengals might be the one with the pick six, right? If Stafford has one of his off nights. Andrew, great info as always. You got UFC, NHL, obviously Super Bowl from Andrew McGinnis. What else do you have going on at WagerTalk.com?
Well, I just want to promote my 5% play for UFC this weekend, guys. It is in the main event, and that's not on purpose. Last weekend, I actually had a 5% play in UFC as well, so rare back-to-back weekends in UFC with 5% play. That was in the undercard. This one's the main event. 2021, I was the number one 5% UFC handicapper at the website, riding a 15-5, 75% run in the UFC. And props was 6-2 last year in the Super Bowl. I'll try and do it again this year.
Awesome stuff. Andrew Mcinnis, he covers multiple sports, UFC, NHL, NFL, obviously. And once again, he has a big 5% of the main event for UFC 271 at the Toyota Center, Houston, Texas, this Saturday. Don't forget about UFC. It's happening this weekend as well. Teddy, normally have Ralph on Thursdays. He couldn't make it today, but he sent us some information, which is just as good, almost as good as having Ralph on, right? And keep in mind, you can get the Super Bowl. What? No, it's not as good. It's almost as good.
We love Ralph. We love having Ralph on, and we hope he feels better. For sure. Ralph a little bit under the weather, but he was kind enough to send us some info. But no, it's not as good as having Ralph on.
I said almost as good. Almost as good. I love his charts. I'm going to tell you right now, his charts are pretty good, and we still have that info, so it's almost as good. Look, I'll go to his page, though, all seriousness, at wagertalk.com. Get there quicker with shortcut code WT.buzz/RM and get that free Wager Talk Super Bowl guide. And, Teddy, you're just talking about the defensive scores, special teams or whatever. That's the kind of info he has on this chart for like the last 10 plus Super Bowls, grid style. And it's free to download right now on Ralph Michaels' page at wagertalk.com. But let's just go over some of the stuff that Ralph's looking at. He also did send us, by the way, a free prop play, which we'll tease you. We'll give that out to you in a couple minutes here at the end of the segment. But where do you want to start, Teddy? I mean, I know he's talked stuff like the team that scored last has won 12 straight. The average line on that's only been minus 155. Ralph, a couple weeks ago on Twitter, got the discussion starting about how all the first half, the first quarter has been no scores, basically, 5 or 6 straight Super Bowls. Any thoughts on that stuff? I mean, look, 12 straight, the last team to score has won the game. I guess that speaks to how competitive the Super Bowl has become in recent years.
So, yeah, the team to score last has won 12 straight. It's actually 14-1, the last 15 Super Bowls.
Wow.
And the one that it lost was a horrific beat. You know what that was? If you're thinking about it, you know exactly what it was. It was the intentional safety that the Ravens took with 2 seconds left on our last play of the game against San Francisco after the Niners had failed to punch it in 4 times from inside the 5-yard line. And then Baltimore took the intentional safety. So that's the only loser for team to score last to win the Super Bowl in the last 15 years. And that was a brutal, brutal beat. You said the average line's minus 155. It is worth noting that's a 2-1 prop right now. Team to score last wins the game. You have to lay $2. But it's cashed 12 straight and 14 of the last 15. That's one that is on my prop report. Will there be a score? The first, and you can find anything from 4.5 to 7.5 minutes. But Ralph's numbers for the first 6 minutes, which is the obviously the one right in between, no one scored in the first 6 minutes for the last 5 years in the Super Bowl, and that we tend to see slower starts. I went back and looked at Joe Burrow in the championship game against Clemson when he played for LSU. A game where Burrow lit up the Tigers defense and led LSU to 42 points. How'd that game start? 3 and out, 1 first down and a punt. So 3 punts for LSU before they got going. And there was no score in that game. First 6.5, 7 minutes. So the no cash there. The longest TD is one that's interesting, and one that wasn't, whether it's pass or other versus another play. Longest TD is a pass or other. That's one that's been cashing a lot in recent years. Talk about that, Steve.
Yeah, this isn't one I've actually ever used before, Teddy, but I thought it was interesting as well because it's about $1.15. It's a plus money prop, So once again, we talk about how the public likes plus money props. It doesn't mean that, they don't always work, right? And this is actually, it's now won 5 of the last 6. Ralph said it 9 of the last 12. That's the longest touchdown, pass, or other. Obviously, a running play is very unlikely to be the longest score. So I guess in some regards that makes sense.
Yeah, and the over 3.5 sacks is one that's cashed a lot as well of late. You have to lay minus 140-ish on average. That's cashed 6 times in the last 7 Super Bowls. The common foe stuff I thought was real interesting because obviously the Rams are the favorite in the Super Bowl, but the numbers that Ralph put together showed very clear against common opponents. Cincy was a better team.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's interesting about this is Ralph sent this over. And by the way, the over 3.5 sacks, if you recall, when you threw me that bad pass that broke my nose in the TikTok video last year, Teddy Covers, that was actually my free play in that TikTok video. So that is something that's been on my radar. Burrow, I think, might get sacked a little bit here. Stafford not exactly mobile. So, Tony Mejia talked about rushing yards for Burrow. That could lead to some sacks because if you try to run and you don't get past the line of scrimmage, boom, it's a sack. I loved it last year with the beat-up Kansas City offensive line, Mahomes being mobile. That was just a nice one last year. Yeah, common foes is interesting, folks. Look, Cincinnati's played 9 of them. Rams have played 11 because they had some divisional games there that added up. Cincy went 6-3. Rams went 7-4. Cincy went 5-4 against the spread. Rams only 2-9 against the spread. So that does jump out at you a little bit, especially since they're favored in this game. But the big thing for me and what I love about Ralph's work, once again, he looks at margins and other things. Straight up record, that's okay. 6-3, 7-4. Spread record a little telling. 5-4 versus 2-9 for the Rams. But the yardage differential, Teddy, this is what jumped out to me. Those 9 games, these are common opponents. They played 8 of the same teams. Some played them multiple times. Cincinnati was plus 657 yards in those 9 games. The Rams with 2 extra games, 11 games, an extra win, just plus 206. 657 versus plus 206. In net yards. Teddy, do you take anything out of that? Do you think there's something to that?
I think the Rams had a hard time against San Francisco, and that's showing up.
No, but that's what you got to look at, though. I mean, that's a good point, though.
Very clearly, that's showing up in those numbers. And that would be my number one takeaway there. I wouldn't put too much into it, although Cincinnati, LA's problems against the foes that Cincy was able to beat may not be the best sign. 2 more things worth mentioning here from Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV on Twitter that are definitely worth mentioning here before we give his free play. First, the straight up winner of the Super Bowl against the spread, last 12 of all cashed, 47-6-2 against the spread. So whoever covers wins. Again, when you talk about the straight up winner going 47-6-2 in the big game. So if you like Cincy, and again, you want to do this early, not late. If you like Cincy, you may want to sprinkle some money line. Same thing if you like LA, but if you like the Rams, you probably want to wait because many bettors come in and pound the dog at the plus price in the 48 hours leading up to kickoff. You find some real bargains on the favorite on the money line on Super Bowl Sunday itself. And one more thing from Ralph. Underdogs of 3 or more in the Super Bowl off a win as an underdog, 11-3-1 against the spread. That 2 of points to Cincinnati. Steve, give Ralph's free play.
Yeah, just close on those 2 real quick. I ran the numbers about a week ago. I think 10 of the last 11 that have won in an upset in their title game have actually covered in the Super Bowl. So it's 10-1 even more recently, 11-3 overall, as Ralph said. And also about the straight up winner covering, I believe half of this, 47-6. Once again, 47-6. You pick the straight up winner, they go 47-6 against the spread in the Super Bowl. A couple pushes. I believe half of those 6 losses, at least 2, if not 3 of the 6, were Belichick and Brady winning and not covering. They played a lot of close games. So, I've talked about that a few times this week that we got to kind of take out the Belichick Brady factor because it's like over half the Super Bowls the last 20 years from our sample, when we're doing research, make sure it's not a dependent thing on them. But yeah, otherwise, it's really, if you pick the straight up winner, you're going to most likely get the point spread winner. We have seen this line drop now, as I said earlier in the show. It was 4.5 during the week. It's now down to 4 in most spots, except some Vegas spots where they still have 4.5. Caesars, though, which is around the country and Vegas, is 3.5. So we have seen a 3.5 pop. Looks like more bingo money will continue to come in this weekend, except maybe in Vegas where they might get some LA traffic. And yeah, Teddy, let's close this out. Once again, Ralph Michaels sent us over this great data. He wasn't able to join us today, but he is, of course, on Twitter at Cal Sports LV. And as you said, also on Wager Talk at Ralph Michaels, of course, on wagertalk.com. And he likes the prop that he's giving out for free here. Joe Mixon over 25.5 receiving yards. And one thing about props, Teddy, that you have to look at, and this is about sports betting in general, right? Everything's based kind of on an overall seasonal average, and then they kind of adjust for current form, whether it be a team or an individual. That's where it gets tricky, right? Do you over adjust for current form? How much do you adjust for current form? NC Wilmington, William & Mary covering more in CA like we've talked about. Look, Mixon is a guy, Ralph points out, first 5 games of the season had 8 receptions to 31 yards. The last 5 games, 70, 40, 48, 52, 27. So do you agree with Joe Mixon over 25.5 receiving yards? And Ralph points out the Rams D-line will force screens and dumps offs. He has a little bit of a matchup there. What do you think of that? Joe Mixon over 25.5 receiving yards.
I wouldn't talk anyone out of Mixon over receiving yards. I wouldn't talk anyone out of Mixon over 3.5 receptions. Look, there were 8 games this year where Joe Mixon had 0 or 1 catch, and was a non-factor in the passing game. The vast majority of those games were earlier in the season. The aggregate numbers the prop numbers are based on these, season-long averages. And clearly, as you've shown, 6 receptions for 70, 7 for 40, 4 for 48, 6 for 52, and 3 for 27 in the last 5 games. Joe Mixon is a factor right now in a way that he wasn't in the factor in the passing game in a way that he wasn't earlier in the season. I do like Mixon over his receiving yards, and I wouldn't talk anyone out of over his number of receptions. That's lined at 3.5. You can basically get that at -110.
Yeah, and once again, this is from Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. You can go there right now to his page. Download the guide for free. We got a lot of this information from the guide. There's tons of more on it. The free Super Bowl guide from Ralph Michaels on his page, wt.buzz/RM. Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. And don't forget, once again, Teddy is near 50,000 followers on Twitter. Before we get out of here, Teddy, that promo code again, TC50. Gets you everything from Teddy for half price for the next 7 days and nights at WagerTalk.com. And by the way, Steve Merrill, myself, a mere 2-0 sweep last night in college and pro hoops. I'll be on the college basketball tip-off show here in about 1 hour right here on WagerTalk TV, archived as well 24/7. Teddy, we got one more day of the week until the big game this weekend, tomorrow and Friday. So we're going to crush the Super Bowl once again on Friday's show. In the meantime, get us out of here. I know you got some hair and makeup to tend to.
I do. So I want to thank Tony Mejia. I want to thank Andrew McInnis. And I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your busy day to hang out with Steve and I. Like you said, we'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, enjoy those games and good luck tonight.
Fan of Super Bowl props, but not in Las Vegas for the big game? Hosting a Super Bowl party and want to keep everyone entertained? WagerTalk has you covered with our Super Bowl party prop sheet. The concept is simple and is easy for anyone to participate and follow. First, download and print out our Super Bowl 56 party prop sheet. Pass out to everyone at your Super Bowl party and determine the entry fee, if any, and payouts. All they have to do is circle their choices for each prop. And since almost all of them are 50-50, it does not require someone to be a huge football fan or understand sports betting to participate. To get your free Super Bowl party prop sheet, just go to wt.buzz/props and follow us on Twitter at WagerTalk the day of the big game to get results in real time.